cause of that was, didn't you?
No, I don't.
What? My mother.
Well, I'm not your mother, am I?
I know you're not my mother, thank God. Because my mother was... Let's put it this way. She liked to be in control of everybody and everything. And if she couldn't, she'd do a nut and explode.
So you were afraid that I was the same as your mother?
No. I know you're not the same as my mother.
Well, I'm glad we established that.
Well, I'll give you an idea what happened, right? Frida and my mother were sitting at a table talking about education regarding my daughter, right? Then my Frida said something to my mother. My mother blew her stack because actually Frida said she didn't know what she was talking about. But Frida had the authority to say that because Frida used to be a teacher. Did you know that?
Go on, I did know that, yeah.
Oh, well, she used to be a teacher, and my mother just done her nut and told her to get out of her home.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So do you know what I did?
What?
I gathered as much as I could of my stuff, which was basically a tent, a couple of sleeping bags, a gas cooker, a couple of camping saucepans, and all my camping gear, right?
I've never been camping all my life.
And I just went out with the gear, went down the canal, where the old trip boat I used to work on. I pitched up the tent inside that with the canvas with the plastic canvases on the outside down. I pitched the tent up inside the boat and we stayed in there.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you had more of a life than I ever did. I've never actually had anyone to love me like that.
Put it this way, when I love somebody, it'll go all log. You know, something stops, if something tries to split us up, yeah, it would never happen.
Well, you had a life, I didn't.
Did I?
Yeah, you had a wife that loved you. I didn't have that.
Well, it's not my fault you didn't have a wife that loved you.
I didn't say wife. I said...
You said wife.
I meant...
You had a wife that loved you.
I meant you, not me.
I know what you meant.
I meant spouse, like a loving partner.
You didn't have a loving partner.
But how do you think Chris treated me then?
I have no idea.
Well, what do you remember him of?
I don't remember much about him at all, because he's oblivious to me.
Do you remember that he was a skinhead?
No.
Yeah, he was a skinhead. What does that tell you about a skinhead?
He's a true skinhead, they're not worth bothering with.
Well, if I had a mother that taught me what a skinhead is like, I would have never married him. But I didn't have a mother, so...
You had a mother, but she didn't give a fuck about you anyway. And anyway, she'd have probably wanted him as well.
Mm.
Just to make upset you. Some people are like that.
Some people, not all of them. She's a total dragon. She'd bite my head if she had the opportunity to.
If she had wings and could fly, she probably would have beaten you.
She did beat me. She used to take...
Eat you.
What?
If she was a dragon, she'd probably have eaten you whole.
Oh, you mean like a cannibal, eating cannibal.
Devouring.
Mm-hmm. She did beat me. She threw her high heels on my head when I was only 10 or 11 years old.
She hit you on the head with her high heels?
Yeah, and my head used to bleed.
Oh, so she was using the heels on your head?
She hit me with her heels on my head.
Let's get this right. She hit you on the head with the heels of her shoe?
Yeah.
That's a killing weapon. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know.
That can kill people.
Yep. She tried to kill me many times.
That's attempted murder.
Yeah.
Criminal offence.
She's a witch.
So she's a murderer. Attempted murderer anyway.
Well, she's having sex with a fella who's 2 or 5 years younger than me. Or
What's her problem?
he's younger than me. Anyway, he's in his 30s, I think. He's 10 years. I think he's 10 years younger than me.
As far as I'm concerned, that's her hard luck. What's it going to do for her?
But what's it got to do with me? Nothing.
Exactly.
She wants to make me feel inadequate, that I'm not.
Wants to make you feel jealous.
Yeah, and that I'm not important.
You're important.
She's never been a mother to me.
You got to know that.
And your mother has never been a mother to you. She's been a total.
Well, she's been a mother to me, but only when she felt like it.
When did she die?
What?
When did she?
2 years back.
About 10 years ago?
No, not that long ago. About 6 years ago. 5, 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a bit longer.
Well, don't assume that all women are the same as your mother. Maybe the majority of them are, but
I've never known any woman to be like my mother. You see, I ruined her life according to her.
How did you ruin her life?
I was born.
Mm-hmm.
That ruined her life.
Well, I wasn't born. I was cut. I told you.
No, what I'm saying.
I was cut out, cesarean section.
It was cesarean or what it was.
But you.
Because I was born, I ruined her life.
But were you born a normal way, or was it cesarean?
Yes, I was. I still ruined her life.
Well, she didn't want to have children.
Well, why did she have 6 of them?
What? I only had one child. I haven't had any others.
My mother had 6 kids.
Mm-hmm. And you see, the main reason.
I ruined her life.
The main reason why I divorced Chris is that he didn't want children. So why did he?
For fuck's sake! You don't deserve to have a woman.
Yeah. So he.
She's a young woman like you.
So he had abused me.
He didn't want children, he just wanted you. I'll tell you something, a man that doesn't want children with a woman he loves,
he didn't
the
love...
man that doesn't love the woman.
He didn't love me, though.
No, he didn't. I know that. You just told me he didn't by saying he didn't want children.
He was a sponger.
Ah, cadger.
You know what a sponger is?
I know, it's right. It gets trying to get money out of you all the time.
Yeah.
I know what cadger is.
He also robbed the bank.
That's his problem. So he's a bank.
I think he took about more than 20,000 from England. Then he went to work in America. And then when he came back, he had to do community voluntary work as a criminal, because that's a criminal offence, obviously.
What?
Taking a loan and then leaving the country.
Oh, I ain't robbing a bank. That's embezzlement. That's nothing serious. Robbing a bank is a lot more serious. There's ways of getting money out of a bank. One is going up to the bank till or threatening the staff with violence. Then you're in big trouble with that one.
Well, it's similar.
Get about 10 years in prison.
Well, it's similar to robbing the bank. He was more crafty than that.
No, it's just fraud.
Yeah. So he went and worked in America as a professional actor, and he was the devil, actually.
He was an actor. He was a good actor.
I was a wife to the devil.
You were just one of his. He was acting with you.
Do you know he actually was a star for Paramount Pictures.
He worked for Paramount. That's all.
And he was the Borg in Star Trek.
A Borg?
Yeah, he was a Borg monster in Star Trek.
A Borg?
Yeah, so he's famous.
No, nobody see him.
I've got a DVD of him in the film.
Yeah, but nobody's seeing.
If I had known the crimes that he did, I would have never wanted to get married to him, but I didn't know who he was, but now I know.
No, he's a thorough arsehole.
He also designed his own suicide.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know that, you told me.
What do you remember what I told you about my ex-husband? My one and only, I didn't have any others.
He wanted to cause an accident whilst he was having an operation in hospital.
He overdosed on pills, and he only told me, he didn't tell anybody else.
So as soon as they put him out, it increased the dose to a lethal level.
So he overdosed on pills that he wasn't supposed to take, and he only told me on the telephone. And then he said, by the way, tell my daughter I love her.
That's a fine way of saying you love her by committing suicide, isn't it?
Do you know why he committed suicide?
Which is an arsehole.
2 reasons. Reason number one, he rejected me asking him to reunite with his son, who was age 16. He hadn't seen his son all his life.
I agree with you. You shouldn't do. You shouldn't turn against your own kin.
But his son was speaking to me, and he wanted his father. So I told his father, go and see him, and he didn't want to see him. He rejected his son.
Yeah, because his son was going to have words with him about something.
Then because his son felt rejected, at age 16, he jumped into the ocean and died.
Yeah, so he killed his father.
So
the son was killed by the father.
The son had bad influence of a group of youngsters, young teenagers, that pressurized him to jump into the cold ocean, and it drowned him with his clothes on. He had hypothermia, and he died at age 16.
Died of hypothermia.
Yeah, he died at age 16 for jumping into the ocean. They dared him. They said he would be more tough emotionally. Yeah. And he died as a result.
Someone said that to me. Do you know what I turned around and say?
Because he felt rejected by his dad. He wanted to be emotionally numb. He wanted to numb his emotion of rejection by jumping into the ocean.
No.
Yeah. That's the whole.
Friends were goading him on, or so-called friends were goading him on to do it.
They goaded him to do it, to be tougher, to be a tough guy, emotionally. And so
they were stupid enough to do it.
And but if he actually did what I told him to do, to go and spend time with his son, that would have never happened. His son would have never died.
Probably not. See,
I was married to him at the time, and he hated me for caring. He didn't want me to care for his son. And then he hated me, and he hated himself. So that's another reason why he designed his own suicide. And then also, the second reason is that I suspect he sexually molested my daughter. He either fingered her or...
she'll tell you that if it happened.
He either fingered her or he licked her vagina.
She will tell you that.
She won't remember it at age 4. She was only age 3 and 4.
Well, put it this way,
but while I was forced into the mental health...
It would have been a trauma for a child if she would remember it.
But he made it fun for her. So... He was also training to be a security officer. So they're not going to suspect anything.
What a bet.
So while I was being forced to go into the mental institution for about 3 months, he still looked after her for about 6 months, bathing her from age 3, 4, and having fun with her. But what made me suspect that he sexually molested her is that he couldn't wait to return her back into my care. He was so desperate for me to have her back, he actually lived with me, divorced, in a separate room. He was in a separate room, right? For the whole year of 2010 at 20 Swallows Oak in Abbots Langley. In Abbots Langley.
Where you lived.
WD50LF. That's near Watford. That place where I lived.
I walked past you one day and you were sitting in the car.
Yeah, and so that place,
you didn't know that,
where my daughter was born, she was born there. And 20 Swallows Oak, right? He couldn't wait to return her back in my care, and he looked guilty. There was a look on his face, was guilt. He's done something. I know he's done something. I even prayed about it and consulted God in my prayers, and even the Bible spoke against him, which looked like a profile of a sexual abuser. He did something. He did something with her in bed. He did something with her in bed. He also did something with her in the bath. He told me that he left her in the pushchair one day when it was very windy and stormy. The pushchair rain cover blew off and fell on the train tracks.
Yeah, how did they fall on the train tracks?
The wind blew it off.
Yeah, but
he
why
jumped.
was his buggy that close to the train tracks?
The idiot endangered my daughter's life.
He let that buggy go.
He let that buggy go.
And the wind caught it. It could have gone on the train track.
Exactly. He told me this, right? He confessed.
This was at a railway station, wasn't it?
He confessed this to me, and the idiot jumped on the train tracks in front of my daughter. He could have been electrocuted in front of my daughter.
Would have been better if he was.
And he told me, he confessed this. He also confessed that he left her alone in the house, in the flat. Not my flat, in his flat.
Yeah.
Because we were divorced for about 7 years.
That's child abuse.
Yeah, he left her alone to go to the local shop because his arms were broken. He couldn't carry the pushchair down the stairs.
Why was his arms broken?
I don't know. He didn't tell me. But he couldn't carry the pushchair down the stairs, so he was disabled. But he didn't claim disability allowance. He carried on working.
How can he work if his arms are broken?
I know, it didn't make any sense. Maybe he sprained it. What he meant was that his shoulder was sprained. It wasn't actually broken.
Yeah, well, we've got one hand.
So
one shoulder goes, the other one still
So
works.
he excused himself of leaving my daughter alone while he went to the corner shop.
He couldn't be bothered to take the buggy down the stairs, you mean?
Yeah, so he confessed that he used to give her junk food and leave her in front of the telly all day. She also had her teeth damaged. So how is he a good dad? He'd left her for 6 months, unsupervised. She fell over and hurt her gums, her teeth. Even now, as an adult, young adult, that tooth will never grow back.
Of course it won't.
Because it damaged it from the roots. She's got teeth missing on the bottom of... She's got 1 or 2 teeth missing on the bottom of her jaw. And her dad did that to her. Now, she's being brainwashed currently by Children's Social Services and my ex-mother-in-law, who I haven't spoken to for about 10 years.
You don't need to speak to her either.
I spoke to her recently to find out whereabouts my daughter is. She said she doesn't know and she doesn't want to know. She's irresponsible. And she also said, she put the phone down on me and she said that that she's telling my daughter every time she sees my daughter, as regular as 3 times a month or 5 times a month. She often tells my daughter that her dad was a good dad to her and that I had blocked her from seeing her dad, which is a total lie. She's telling lies to my daughter.
Now you see, this is what does your daughter's head in.
Exactly. So she's brainwashing her and turning her against me.
Yeah, of course.
And I've got...
And then only social services, it's your bloody in-laws as well.
Yeah, so if they had never taken me to the...
Fucking hell.
If they've never...
You didn't half pick them, didn't you?
If they had never taken me to the mental health institution, the abuse wouldn't have happened to my daughter.
Oh, God.
But I'm suspicious. I can't prove it, but I am suspicious. I said if I had the opportunity to listen to the telephone conversations between me and my ex-husband, then it could prove it that he designed his own death. But they didn't.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to do a autopsy to the dead corpse because they signed him off where he died at the operating table as a failure to the surgery on his heart bypass surgery. That's how they signed him off. That end of life reason was the failure for the surgery. It wasn't the fact that he designed his own suicide.
So what the hospital saying is they would fail to do the job they're supposed to have done.
Exactly. So that's why they excused not to do a biopsy. No, autopsy. Yeah.
Biopsy.
So the court, I meant the autopsy. Yeah. So that's their excuse not to do it. So of course, then that's the cause of death. So the cause of death is.
You know, you should have said, try taking a blood sample and see what you had before the operation.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to do, but they blocked me. You see.
Did you tell them that?
I tried to tell them that, but I was blocked, and they also blocked me from going to the funeral.
Who did?
My mother-in-law.
She had no right to.
She did. She blocked me because I was divorced, you see. And so nobody knows except me and you that he did this and that he died a dignified death. And everybody's saying...
It wasn't dignified.
Yeah, everybody's saying, poor Chris.
It wasn't dignified. How can that be dignified?
Poor Chris, he died because...
Suicide.
Yeah, they're all saying that it's poor Chris, he died because of me and that he did self-harm. And so they're...
self-harm, that means he's mentally insane.
Yeah, so they are... So what they are doing is...
You harm yourself?
I don't do self-harm, but they
They
accused me of doing self-harm. The Children's Social Services did.
They will do,
because they love Chris. They love this devil.
What he does is transfer his problems over to you.
Exactly. They love this devil.
Telling them that you do self-harm.
To kidnap my daughter.
Because he does it.
Yeah, he did. He did this. He was the one doing self-harm, not me. And also to kidnap my daughter. So they literally took the skeleton out of the closet 2 years after he died. I mean, I had won the battle between good and evil before. I managed to get rid of the Children's Social Services before. But this time I couldn't do it because they kept attacking me. Every time they kept knocking on my door every month and looking for an opportunity to kidnap my daughter.
Oh, no.
They forced me to sign documents for them to steal my medical records. And
I wouldn't sign any document.
They forced me to go to court. They forced me to go to court.
They cannot force you to do anything.
Well, the authorities did. They did all of that and got away with it. They rigged everything. They rigged the system of mental health. Even though I have a positive record with mental health NHS, they made it look like a negative thing. And they made it look worse than it actually is, the paranoia. I don't have paranoia. I had severe insomnia. That means sleep deprivation. They forced me to have injections, which was 115 of them, in 2008. There was no community treatment order. So I had community nurses inject me, which was 10 times worse than rape. At least you can recover from rape, but you can't recover from psychiatric drugs, being overdosed. They overdosed me. It was too powerful that I became paralyzed. I told them to lower the dose. They didn't lower the dose. They tried to kill me.
Your doctor can do that.
They tried to kill me because it was too powerful.
Yeah.
It destroyed my lungs. It destroyed my menstrual periods. I stopped my periods for 6 months.
It will do, because it stops you getting pregnant too. That's what some of the injections are for.
For 6 months, I had no periods. It was like acid. When my periods came back 6 years after, it was like acid. It actually burnt my towel. It was like having bleach.
Right.
I had a black towel, right? And after wiping my menstrual period, what came out of me was as acid. Like bleach. You know when you bleach a black towel?
Yeah.
You put literal bleach on it, it burns the dye away. That is what my period did to my black towel when I wiped myself on a black towel.
Oh dear.
So it was like acid. Rather than having a social and domestic terrorist throw acid in my face, they internally poisoned me.
Yeah.
Inside out attacked me. Now, I have never had the opportunity to take them to High Court and say they should have never taken me into the mental health institution when I was going through a divorce and after he died, 7 years after he died. They did it twice to me. And now they're doing it again because of you. They want the opportunity to put me back in there.
Well, they're not going to.
Because they don't want
Because of me.
You see, because they don't want me to be happy and they want to demonize me. They want to demoralize me. They want to call me a prostitute. How can they call me a prostitute when I only had sex with my daughter's dad, which was 17 years ago?
Look, prostitute is a woman that takes money for sex. That's
However, I have not.
You've never done that.
I have not had sex for 17 years. 16 years. My daughter is 17. So how am I a prostitute when I'm abstaining from sex?
I remember. Now you said it at her age. Now I remember you telling me it was that age.
Yeah, you had sex between now and 17 or 16 years. So going back in time on the calendar, you did have sex with not only Joe, but another woman too.
Another woman?
Yeah, you said there was another woman after Joe, didn't you? Was that a lie too?
No.
So you did have another woman?
After Frida died, I was feeling really, really down and lonely.
Yeah, I know. You told me you had sex with Joe and then you had sex with another woman.
Yeah, we weren't that close.
And last night you said
afterwards.
And last night you said that you wanted to have sex with more women by casual sex.
No.
Yes, you did.
Casual sex.
Yes, you did. You said you would want to have sex with lots more sexual partners. You said you wanted more. That it's not enough.
I didn't say that at all.
You did, Roger. You told me that 2 days ago. Literally 48 hours ago, you told me it. I should have had more sexual partners. It wasn't enough. That's what you told me, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Well, I have...
I'm particular.
Yeah.
I'm very particular who I go with. I've got to have good, strong feelings for a person before I can have sex with them.
So you made me feel irrelevant. You made me feel like I was no one special.
Oh, you were special. You still are. What do you think I'm still talking to you for? If you was irrelevant, I would have told you to fuck off as soon as I picked up the phone.
Well, you did tell me to fuck off and you kept putting the phone down on me.
Yeah, that was then, because you kept winding me up.
No, because you imagined that I was the same as your mother and that you imagined...
I did not imagine you were the same as my mother. You were nothing like my mother.
You imagined that I was the same as Joe. A pervert.
You're not like Joe.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
You know, do you think I want another woman in my life that was like Joe? Do they?
Did my breasts look like Joe?
Better.
What about my vagina?
Well, I haven't seen it as such.
Well, she's a midget. I'm not a midget for a start off.
Well, I know that.
I'm a giant compared to Joe.
I know.
Why do you like giants, do you?
Well, not particularly, but, I don't mind.
Well, it didn't stop you, though. Even though I'm fat, most men don't like fat women.
It's not your body size I was making love, trying to make love to. It was you, the person, not the body.
So why did you insult me with those 2 remarks? Number 1, prostitute.
Because you were winding me up.
I slept in a separate room. And yet you still called me a prostitute after you had a sleepover. That was humiliating.
It was humiliating. You were going to sleep in a separate room.
Yeah.
For me.
I gave you a chance so you could be my boyfriend, and I then changed my mind because you treated me like shit.
I didn't treat you like shit.
So
you just don't understand what I was doing.
We both treated each other like shit.
Do you want a big phone bill?
Why?
Because we're on nearly 2 hours now.
Oh God. Anyway, I've got to go then. Bye.
I'll tell you how long you've been on.
2 hours and 8 minutes.
6 minutes. 7 minutes.
Well, then you can call me and I'll meet you on Friday.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.